Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain. I'm Shannon Zeman, and thank you for joining us on the most important 15 minutes of your day, where we share expert information on safety and preparedness that you can use in your everyday life. On average, there are 6 million car accidents in the U.S. every day. That's roughly 16,438 per day. Wow. So what if you find yourself in a car accident today? Are you prepared? Do you have the necessary documents and tools that you need? Well, I have Officer Angela Guerra here with us today, and she is going to educate us on what we need to do and how to be prepared in case that we are in a car accident. Angela has been in law enforcement for 13 and a half years with the same department, and she has held several positions, such as patrol. She's been on the bike team, and she's currently on the traffic services unit that specializes in major accident investigation. Angela is also a drug recognition expert, standard Field Sobriety Test Instructor, and has numerous classes related to drug and alcohol under her belt. Officer Guerra has training in collision reconstruction and has responded to and worked on hundreds of collisions from minor to fatalities. You've only done a few things, Angela. She has attended numerous conferences on driving under the influence and traffic collisions and the impact it has on our roads, law enforcement, and society. So I'm so excited to have Angela here with us. And just so you know, I'm having trouble with her last name, so that's why we're laughing, and I'm working on it. So we're all human. But thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And I'm really excited because, as everybody knows, my husband is in law enforcement also. And there are so many times that we're driving by an accident or he's talking about an accident and he is like, why don't people know what to do in these situations or what to have? And as a civilian, I don't. And I don't know why we don't have all the right information given to us maybe at the beginning. I don't know. So I'm so glad you're here. Yay. So how important is it to maintain your car to avoid or be ready for an accident?
Maintaining your car is extremely important, from just regular service to everyday overall checking your vehicle, whether you have gas in your car, to the proper oil levels, to whether your windows are clear or not. You want to have your windows clear, front and back side, so you can see out those windows properly. You want to be able to have your tires maintained. You don't want to have bald tires. We're really lucky we're in a state where the inclement weather is really rare.
Right.
But if you are and you have bald tires or no tread or the wrong tires, or you run out of gas, you're in the middle of the roadway, that can all be a factor. Either you're going to cause a collision, create a collision, or somehow, some way be involved in a collision.
So are those all different things that, let's say if you're not a car person like myself, taking it in on a regular basis and having all of those things checked, or can you just take it into a service station and be like, check my car so it's safe so I don't get in an accident? Or do we have to lay it all out for them?
I would lay it all out for them. Unfortunately, nowadays, there's no full service gas stations. It's very, very rare if you do come across a full service gas station. So I would definitely get your car regularly maintained, that 3 months, 6 months check, or how often you drive, 3,000, 5,000 mile check. But also just overall look at your car. Do you have clear windows? Are your tires in proper working order? Do you have gas in your car? Life is getting so hectic and we're distracted with so many things that we do forget those little things.
Yeah.
And you could be driving down the road and then you're stranded.
Yes.
You know, we're lucky we're in an urban area, but if you're not, what do you do?
Right. And it's kind of also, I think, like how we're, especially nowadays, we're talking so much about self-care for ourselves. And we do have to remember we have to care for our cars too. Right. Like it's carrying us through it. Yeah. So that's wonderful. So this is one of the biggest things that I never know what the right thing is to do. So after a collision, what is the basics understanding that a person, a civilian needs to know? Like when do I move the car in a car accident, or when is the right time to call the police or not call the police?
Well, everybody handles stress and incidents differently.
Yeah.
This could be the biggest trauma they've ever had, from a minor collision to a major collision. If it's minor, it could be major to that person at that time, at that moment.
Right.
We don't know who is in that car. They're responsible for everybody in that car, or if they're by themselves. The biggest thing to remember is check to see if you're safe, check if the other person's safe, and get off the road.
Okay.
Especially if you're in a high traffic area. Just if there's a free space, even if it's to the center median, just pull out of the way off the road if you can get out of the way. Ideally, you want to pull to the right, get off the highway if you're on a highway. If you're on a major thoroughfare, get to the right, get off the highway as soon as you can.
So for like me, I would be afraid that if I move, the police officers aren't going to know exactly what happened. So what you're saying is, like, if you're on the freeway or in the middle of the road, there's no reason, if your car can move,
If it can move.
there's no reason to stay in that spot.
No reason at all.
Okay.
If
you're on the freeway, get all the way off the freeway.
Get all the way off.
All the way off.
If it's feasible.
Okay.
If you can get all the way off, if traffic's clear, if you can even move to the side, that's the best. Because sometimes you're in an area where exits are few and far between.
Right.
So if you can just get out of lanes of traffic.
And how does that work? Because, so for me as a civilian, I would think that the police officers need to see the situation and how how the accident occurred.
Well, in prior times, maybe that was the case. Traffic's heavy, and unfortunately, we have so much training and so many new technologies coming out that's the part of the puzzle. Just like any crime, at the time, you go back and you kind of reconstruct that puzzle. So you can just get their statements, debris in the roadway, damage to the vehicles. So immediately hit your hazards, get to the side of the road.
Wonderful. Okay, perfect. And now when do I call the police, and when is it not necessary for me to call the police?
If it's a minor accident and you're not injured at all, there's no need to call the police. Even if you have a complaint of pain and it's minor because of the jolt of the collision, you might want to call the police for your own peace of mind, but it's not necessary. You exchange information and let your insurances deal with it.
Okay. And now, so for you, a minor accident might mean something different to me. So where is the point that we go, okay, it's a major accident? Don't.
So minor collision is no injury, fender bender.
Okay. Everything's still intact.
Still intact.
And then a major one is when there's major injury or major damage to the car.
Major damage. It could be moderate to major damage. You could have moderate damage to your car, but for me, I determine if it's major damage if the car's not drivable. If airbag's deployed, if a tire's lodged, if the car is not movable, it's major damage. But sometimes you could still move the car, even if your fender's hitting the tire, It could still be moved. That's just moderate damage. Okay. You can also call the police if the other party doesn't have a license or insurance. The response most likely won't, depending on calls for service, won't be as fast, unfortunately, because ambulances obviously get there first if there's injury.
Right.
But that doesn't mean the police are going to show up right away.
Okay, so that's good to know. These are all different things that I don't understand. So now, by law, what is the information we must provide at a traffic collision? And what is it important for us to have our emergency medical information with us also at that time?
Absolutely, especially so priority required documents required by law for the state, whatever you're in. So as far as I know, all 50 states across the United States, driver's license, registration, insurance. Hopefully it's a valid driver's license or some kind of identification. Sometimes we leave the house without our IDs.
Right.
Good phone number, proper registration, proper insurance.
Okay.
And provide all that necessary information. Medical information is key, especially if you're diabetic or your blood type. If you do actually are involved in a major collision and you get transported, that is good to have with your information in that vehicle, right in there where if your glove box and you keep your registration and insurance, keep that medical information right there with it.
That's great. I never thought about keeping your medical information in this. So that's wonderful. Would you also keep maybe like your emergency phone numbers with that also, like for who they could contact in case that you're unfortunately not able to communicate with them?
Absolutely. And you might want to keep that also in your wallet, because if you are transported to the hospital or to the nearest medical facility, you do want to have that information. It's best for the paramedics that get there. They can admit if they're going to start administering anything, and for the doctor they're in contact with.
Oh, very cool. So see, be prepared. So what type of equipment would you say is necessary to have in our car so that if we do get in an accident and we require the police or an ambulance, what should we have with us until they get there?
Flashlights, first aid kit, road flares. Sometimes they're big, but nowadays it's great. You can get electronic road flares that are actually rechargeable.
What?
And you can get them on Amazon. They're great. Get some road flares, throw them out if you can, especially if you're in a rural area, a dark area where people aren't going to see you. A blanket, if you have a blanket. Those would be my priorities to have.
That is great. And so what you're saying is it's more important. We need more things than just our hazard lights.
Yes.
So again, I would not have thought about those things. And how far, if you're putting out, let's say, road flares, how do I determine where I put them, or how far out, or how would I set up the road flares?
You don't want to put yourself in danger, but you want to give yourself more space than necessary, because people are going to come across those. And if they come across them closer to your vehicle, the more dangerous, because people tend to follow the light. So I would say at least 20 to 30 feet back.
And how many road flares would you recommend if we're doing that far?
At least 3.
At least 3. Okay. And what about compared from road flares to like those like reflective triangles?
Reflective triangles are awesome.
Okay.
Those are also really accessible. You can get those on Amazon or Walmart, I think, nowadays. I would put those at least back 20, 30 feet also.
Okay. And so when we're talking about an accident, I've never personally experienced driving a car and having airbags deploy or anything like that. What, you hear sometimes you need to take your hands off the steering wheel, or what type of damage you might incur in those. What should we be knowing about those?
Well, airbags are going to hurt. Sometimes it happens so fast you're not going to know to take your hands off the steering wheel. You will have burns from the if your hands are there, you can get burns on your arms.
Okay.
You might get a broken nose, you might just get face pain, but you're going to get a little bit of pain or bruising from that airbag and your seatbelt also.
Okay. And now the last question that I have for you is, what about window brakes? We have one in our car, and I know it's a window brake, and also it can cut your seatbelt. But can you explain that a little bit, and then also explain to people how to use a window brake?
So I personally carry a Leatherman in my car, which is great if you do need to cut a seatbelt, because it's every tool in one.
Oh.
A window brake, it's actually like a little piece of porcelain that is either on the end of a flashlight, or it's a small tool, and you can just actually tap your window and it breaks. Because it's tempered glass and it shatters.
And it just shatters you out, and then you can get out of the car.
You can get out of the car.
And what if you're on the outside and you use a window brake to help someone on the inside? Are you jeopardizing hitting them with glass or anything like that?
You can, but you can tell them to turn away if they're conscious.
Okay.
If not, it's very small. It's tempered glass. You're going to get maybe some minor cuts and some maybe glass in their hair. Okay. But nothing that's going to be like shards of glass from a window pane.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, Angela has given us tons of insight today, and is really, I feel like you explained a lot to us as a civilian perspective, like on moving your car and calling the police. I think those are all great little tools that as police officers, you guys understand and see, but as us as civilians, possibly we haven't had all of that explanation or training or how things have changed. So I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yay! And is there any other takeaway that you would want to give to drivers at this time to kind of educate them or give them an insight or an inspiration?
Well, if you are driving along the road and you do see an accident and you see that they're not pulled over, if you are in the position to offer to assist or call 911 if the accident looks major, definitely assist if you can. If they are being assisted to and moving to the side, keep going. Don't lollygag. Don't create another situation. And if you are involved in a collision, just breathe. It's okay. You have time. Take a deep breath. Make sure you're okay. Make sure the other person's okay, and go from there.
That's perfect. And one of the biggest things that I always learned from my husband, that he told me this a long time ago, and I take it with me all the time, is it's called an accident for a reason. No one is doing it on purpose. So even though it's hard either to be scared and nervous that you feel like maybe you did something wrong, or to be angry at the other person that they did something wrong. Just like Angela's saying, take a breath, assess it, and get help. And just know nobody is doing it on purpose. Nobody wants to be in that. So I hope this is a life lesson for you that you can use and share. I'm sure Angela will be back with us and we can explore a little bit more maybe about traffic accidents or safety. So again, if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me and Angela and I can put something together for you. We would love more topic ideas also. Next week, join me when Lauren Stalling, who's a California licensed marriage and family therapist, talks to us about the rising pandemic of teen suicide and how to keep our teens safe. Nowadays, they really need it. So thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You've just listened to the most important 15 minutes of your day with me, Shannon Zeman. And you can find my podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, with knowledge, you have the power.